Hola, hello. Welcome to your first video lecture for lesson one, with the section being capítulo uno, contextos. Contextos uno, hola, ¿qué tal? Okay, so we're going to jump right into things here. Just so you know, this is going to serve as a breakdown. It's going to be mostly in English. Um, I am going to try to keep it to 10 to 15 minutes and just make sure you guys have an understanding of things. I know you may be going over the coursework, studying, but the purpose of this is because I've seen students make a lot of common mistakes, and those mistakes have translated into lost points on exams. Excuse me, let me read this here. And I want to make sure that you guys are prepared as possible and that you don't have to make those same mistakes. So let's jump right into things today, okay? All right, so this lesson is going to focus on, as you can see here, greetings, introductions, presentations, like presenting people. Hi, let me introduce you to my friend, etc. This is the agenda for today. All right. Notice that there are some things I know some of you might be thinking, hey, I've seen this before in another Spanish club class, or this is pretty basic and you might be breezing through it. Stop. I want you to stop right there. I want you to make sure that you understand these particulars. I want you to make sure you understand the concept of register as it relates to greetings, introductions, making small talk. Register is actually going to impact everything here. And as you can see, we are going to not only go over how to ask and respond, but also go over common mistakes. And at the end, there are some practice prompts that you can use that are going to be excellent for practice for exams and quizzes. So let's jump right in. The first concept of register, what is it? It's something you already know. It's the difference between, for example, in English, asking someone, hi, how are you today? And hey, what's up with you today? Right? It's formal versus informal. It's register, formal versus informal. We do it in every language, and I'm going to show you how it works now in Spanish. So just like in English, these are the environments in which that we will use a formal register. Hi, how are you, sir? Hi, how are you, ma'am? Things like that. I will point this out. If you see in your VHL work a last name being used, a title, so like Mr. Smith, Mrs. Smith, where as soon as you hear that title, Mr., Mrs., Senor, Senora, Dr. Smith, Attorney Smith, whatever it may be, when you hear a title followed by that last name, you need to remember, hey, I am in the ding, ding, ding formal register. All right. Okay, let's move forward with that. When do we use the informal register? That's right here. Same thing that we do in English. I'm going to move through this. If you need to pause it to read through it, you can, okay? So, introductory conversation. You meet someone and you want to find out, say hi, and say, how are you? Here are a few ways that you can do that. If we're in a formal register and we want to say, hi, how are you, ma'am, today? Or hi, how are you, sir? This is the phrase that we're going to use. ¿Cómo está usted? If we're in the informal and feeling really, really relaxed, then we're going to say, ¿Cómo estás tú? Okay. Notice, what is the difference between this phrase? Lock in for a second. Here we have just an A. Here we have an AS. You will see that throughout this entire Contextos section, that same concept of A versus AS. Here you have the word usted. Here you have the word tú. They both mean you. One, what's the difference? One is formal, one is informal. I guess it would be like, how are ya? That YA, which is informal, versus how are you, which is formal. Okay, this is just a little more relaxed way of saying you. All right, so what I want you to remember from this is the A versus the AS and the usted versus the tú. Please, please, please remember that the usted and the tú is optional, which is why it is in a parentheses. Why is it optional? Because the A and the AS tell us whether we're in formal or informal. Okay? All right. Excuse me for a moment. Just wanted to make sure my timer was going because I want to stick to that 10 to 15 minutes for you. All right, so someone asks, hey, how are you? In Spanish, which is, ¿Cómo está? Or, ¿Cómo estás? You can answer in these two ways. This is the breakdown. Notice again, in the formal, even though muy bien is the same, right? I'm doing very well. The form of you is what's changing. I'm doing very well. And you, notice you starts with a you. I'm doing very well. How are you? I guess you could say it that way. How are you? How are you? How are you? Okay, but this is an informal way, all right? Excuse me for messing around with English there for a little bit. All right, and we have some other things like not very well and you, regular, which just means I'm doing okay, just normal, okay? A few other informal expressions. We have que pasa, which means like what's happening, what's going on, and the rest of the breakdown is there. Pause it to take a look at this. Now, let's practice. We have a conversation. First thing I want to ask you to ask yourself, look at this situation. Are we in the formal or informal? Because guess what? On your exams, it will not say you're in a formal register, you're in an informal register. It's going to challenge you to say, hey, if this was a real situation, if we dump you in the middle of a Spanish speaking country, do you know when to use formal versus informal? So for that, let's take a look at this picture. Are we in the formal or the informal register? Well, it's a business situation. They're formally dressed. I would say formal situation. So what I want you to do is take a look at this, challenge yourself, see, pause the video, see if you can come up with what the greeting and what the response would be in this situation. I'm going to move forward at this time. Feel free to pause, okay? So here's an example of what a formal conversation would look like for these two individuals. Take your time and read through it, okay? Hola is a pretty basic greeting, and then we have our how are yous. Notice the está, the A. Notice the formal you. Okay, notice the formal you. All right. Also notice the titles, Mrs. Lopez, Mr. Smith. Moving forward. Now we have a conversation. We're doing the same thing. What tells us that this is formal or informal? Which one is it? Well, look at their dress. They're very relaxed. It looks informal. We have first names. So what would that look like? Pause here if you want to try to make up the answer yourself before moving forward. Going forward here, this is what it looks like. Notice the estás, as, informal. Tú, you, informal, okay? Excuse me, this is a typo. No, no, no. This should be y tú. Yes, yes, yes. Okay? Do not look at that. It should be tú. All right, going to move forward. I'll be sure to change that. All right, we have met someone. We walked up to them. We said, hi, hi, hola, hola. Then we said, how are you? We are using either ¿cómo está? Or ¿cómo estás? Then what? We want to ask, what's your name? Okay, here's the way we're going to do that. For you guys at home, what are our indicators of formal versus informal? We have say versus te. We have a. Remember when I told you to look out for that a versus the as? And we have usted, our good old-fashioned usted versus tú. So just keep that in mind. Those are indicators as you're moving through the work that you want to be able to look at and say, bam, I know what's going on. So if someone asks you, what is your name, using one of these, ¿Cómo se llama usted? Or, ¿Cómo te llamas tú? Notice, okay, the tú in usted is optional. And you're going to respond to that. When you respond, is there register? No, no register when you're talking about yourself. Formality is like a courtesy or respect you want to show other people. So when you respond to yourself, there's no respond, or you're talking about yourself, there's no register. You simply want to say, my name is la 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 la, insert the name. So here are your options for stating that. Let's say your name is the Incredible Hulk, for example. I'm a Marvel fan. You can either say, soy el Incredible Hulk, me llamo the Incredible Hulk, or mi nombre es the Incredible Hulk, right? Now, let's talk about some mistakes that are commonly made here. All right. Often students say, soy es el Incredible Hulk. Me llamo es el Incredible Hulk. Mi nombre es el Incredible Hulk. But all three of these options are not correct. This one is correct. This one is not. This one is not. Okay. Whenever we use soy, whenever we use me amo, which you can sort of see a breakdown of what that means. This is like saying, I am, Sarah. I call myself Sarah. My name is Sarah. When we use these two options, guys, there is no S. There is no E. S. No, no. Not, it's just simply soy David. Me llamo Peter. Mi nombre es Cookie Monster. Okay, remember that. Okay, let's move forward. All right. When you ask someone their name, they give you their name, you might want to say, oh, nice to meet you. So how do you express this idea? You can either say mucho gusto or encantado or encantada. Now let's break it down for a moment. If someone says mucho gusto, it means basically nice to meet you. You can respond with either saying el gusto es mío, the pleasure is mine, or igualmente, likewise. Now, when we get to encantada, I am drawing a star because it's a little different. If you identify as male, you will say encantado. I am delighted. I am pleased, very pleased. Or encantada if you identify as female. To respond, you can just say the same thing, igualmente, likewise. Now, you can use any one of these you want. I suggest mucho gusto. It is gender neutral and it's one less thing for you to think about. Okay. Now, that doesn't mean you don't need to know this at all, but this may be the one that you want to focus on using if you're on an exam or any kind of assessment. All right. So we've gone through hellos. How are you? I'm fine. What is your name? ¿Cómo se llama usted? ¿Cómo te llamas tú? Soy Sarah. Soy Peter. Okay, how to respond. Now we're going to go into ask, so where are you from? Let's do a little small talk. So where are you from? Formality exists. In English, we can say, where are you from? Versus, so where are you from? Right? Formality exists. In Spanish, what does that look like? The difference is this S versus eres. And again, that good old-fashioned usted versus tú. Okay? ¿De dónde es usted? ¿De dónde eres tú? When you respond, is there register? No, you're talking about yourself. So there's no register. You can just say, soy de, insert city or town. Soy de Canada. Soy de Greenville. Soy de Raleigh. Soy de Wisconsin, whatever it may be. Okay? All right, so we've gone through all the introductions, and hey, you have a friend sitting over here. In fact, I'll grab a friend. This is our PCC Bulldog, right? All righty, this is our PCC Bulldog. This is your buddy, right? You've talked and talked, and you want to introduce Bulldog. Well, let's introduce him. These are the scenarios. Don't get afraid, okay? We have a scenario. In these three scenarios, this is you in the green. Now, I'm going to grab one more prompt for you. Stay right there. We have someone, let's say this is Dr. Blue, and this is Bulldog. Dr. Blue, Bulldog. Which one is formal or someone that you would introduce in a more formal way, right? Talking to the doctor versus Bulldog. Now, this is you. This is your friend, Dr. Blue. Okay? This is your friend, Bulldog. Let's say you want to introduce your friend, Bulldog, to Dr. Blue. Okay? Because he is a doctor, gotta wrap it up. That's my timer for you guys. Because he is a doctor, we are going to use the phrase le presento a. Le. is formal, formal, formal. And it sort of translates as, I am presenting to you, sir or ma'am. Then we have te. Let's say your friend over here is bulldog. And you want to introduce this friend to your friend bulldog. You'll just say, te presento a, and you're talking to your friend and you're saying, hey, let me introduce you to my friend bulldog. Te presento a bulldog. Now, if you're presenting or introducing people to multiple people, there is no register. You'll look at your friend and say to them, hey, to you guys, let me introduce you to my friend Billy, whatever that is, okay? I hope that was a little breakdown, but I am running out of time. We have introduced ourselves. We've done small talk. Where are you from? We have introduced friends to one another. And now we're going to talk about giving a farewell. These are all the options. There are lots of them. A simple one you can always remember is adios. All right. This is a practice exercise. I want you to do this. I want you to pause, try to solve this. It's 2 pages or 2 slides. Pause here, work it out, write it out really quick on a sheet of paper. Now, when you resume pause, here are the answers I'm about to show. But before I show them, you write out the answer. I want to see if you really know this or not. Oftentimes, students find out that there are little things that cause them to lose points. So let's move into the las respuestas, the answers. Okay, here are the answers here. You can read this at home. I'm just going to point out some things. Why are we in the formal here? Because Rebecca is talking to someone, and that someone, she's using a title. She's saying, good morning, Mr. last name Lopez. So obviously she's talking to someone that she wants to be more formal with. Okay. You don't say, good morning, Mr. Lopez, if the guy is like your friend or classmate. Right. So we want to show formality by using está, and usted. Then Mr. Lopez, who's the person with, maybe some more experience or a teacher or older person, he says, muy bien, gracias. Now that doesn't have any formality. Just he's talking about himself. I'm doing well. Then he switches. Why are we switching to the formal here? Because he asked her this one little phrase here, ¿y tú? That tells you he's showing a little less formality to her. Maybe she's younger. Remember, she's a student. Still being courteous and asking and inquiring, but showing like, there's a little difference there. That too triggers the informal, estás. Okay. Then Rebecca responds to him and says, I'm regular, I'm fine. She wants to introduce a friend Eduardo. So she says, ley, which is formal. So she's saying to you, Mr. Lopez, I present Eduardo. Y él dice, he says, Mr. Lopez says, mucho gusto. Nice to meet you. No register, just talking about himself. Okay. Nice to meet you, Eduardo. And Eduardo says, el gusto es mío. The pleasure is mine. Senor Lopez then asks, who is he talking to? He's talking to Eduardo. First name basis, younger person. So he says, ¿de dónde eres? Informal. And Eduardo says, I am from Mexico. Soy de Mexico. I am from Mexico. Okay. Woo! I hope that made a lot of sense for you. Before I go, challenge yourself with a writing conversation according to the following prompts. This looks like a lot. It's not that much. It's everything we just did smashed into one. Imagine having a classmate between someone in the informal. You walk into a class or you walk anywhere, there's someone your age and you want to just strike up a conversation, say, hi, how are you? Do a little small talk. Where are you from? And then, say it's nice to meet you and adios. See if you can write this out, okay? If you want me to take a look at it, you can take a picture, send it through the Remind app. I'll be happy to look at it or email it to me, but this may be helpful to know for your exam, okay? I'm not saying this exact thing would be there, but you may see something similar. Remember, for your exam, you need to know all the concepts, not just focused on that. I hope this was helpful for Capítulo 1, Contextos 1. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.